Ohio State versus Texas and Clemson versus LSU. Who you got?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. And tonight, you're going to get my own preview of LSU hosting Clemson, and you're also going to find out my thoughts on Texas and Ohio State. And honestly, I've changed my opinion who's going to win this game based on some injury news and some stuff that I haven't yet heard. Still waiting back on a little bit, but I have changed who I'm going to have with that. So tonight, we're going to be talking about just those two games, and then I'm going to unfortunately dive into the ridiculousness again with the chat regarding NFL players going to college. Finally, there's been some sensibility. I'm guessing some people on the bayou are not very happy right now, but it is what it is. So let's talk some football. We're going to start with Ohio State and Texas, and everything begins with injuries, whether we want them to or not. So here are a few of my thoughts as it relates to the Ohio State-Texas game based on a little bit of information, nothing major, but Ohio State, there is hardly any news, at least none that I'm willing to really discuss. So sans a few bumps and bruises, Austin, I think it's probably going to mispronounce it, Severfield, he's a really good offensive lineman. He was banged up a little bit in fall camp, but nothing major. There's allegedly nothing going on right now with Ohio State from fall camp. If they went through a whole fall camp without anybody really getting hurt, that's a good football player that's going to start or whatever, that is extremely rare, especially a team like Ohio State, operated by Ryan Day, because he knows physicality is key. And it's quite honestly why they didn't advance and win the national title last year. They weren't physical enough. So do I think that this is 100% accurate information? No. And here is the number one thing you will take from this podcast tonight if you take nothing else. Coaches do three things at preseason or fall camp press conferences. They lie, and they lie about injuries. They're never going to tell you the truth. So the fact that there's nothing coming out of Ohio State doesn't mean that there isn't something going on. I'm sure that somebody's ailing in some capacity. That's just reality. The good news about the Texas-Ohio State game is it's not till week 2, but neither one of them play anybody that we care about until then. So I'm going to talk about these games. But here's the key. There's somebody that we're going to find out about in game 1 for Ohio State. Depth chart, snap counts, all that for Ohio State should be something that you look at. If there's a player, I mean, obviously like Jeremiah Smith, et cetera, but outside of them, just guys you think are going to start. If somebody's 15, 20 snaps under what they were last year, there's a reason. Don't believe anything from the press conference. Don't believe anything on those injury reports. And by the way, the BS injury report that the Big Ten has to hand in per league rules on Saturdays, those are garbage too. All injury reports are lies, period, especially at the college level where they don't hold anybody accountable. To that end, I'm guessing that Ohio State's still fairly healthy because they have so many media outlets that cover the Buckeyes. I grew up in the Midwest, not that far from the Ohio border. You couldn't throw a rock without hearing something about Ohio State. So for now, I mean, Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, Bo Jackson, I'm sure there's some kind of ailment just from going through fall camp, but nothing that's going to keep anybody out of the lineup. So that's really good news for them. But on the other side, as it has been widely reported, I'm kind of surprised by this, Goosby, the left tackle for Texas, Trevor Goosby, has had a known, this is so surprising that it came out. I'm still shocked. I'm saying this, and congrats for it getting out, a bone bruise to his knee. Depending on who you want to talk to, 4 to 6 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. As somebody that knows what it's like to have a sore knee, sore back, etc., from playing sports, I can only imagine. But I never had a 300-plus man run into me or fall on my knee or whatever. Goosby's massive by himself, by the way. He's like 6'6", 325. But if you have any kind of knee ailment and you're trying to go against pass rushers from Ohio State, and that's going to be probably your first game back, let's just say that's the first one he gets back. Are you going to be in cardiovascular shape for the third and fourth quarters for that? And B, are you going to be able to withstand the pain? The second part especially is impossible to predict. He can't even tell you that. That makes me very nervous. And to that end, I want to put this back up on the screen now. This is my own thought process. Suffered a bone bruise, with Goosby possibly being the first offensive tackle taken in the 27 NFL draft. His health is a massive part of this game. What was Texas's biggest weakness last year? Offensive line. But it wasn't Goosby. He was the one guy that was really, really good, but they weren't physical enough. Ohio State's one of the rare teams that can line up 4 and get home. I know they lost players, but trust me, they have plenty coming back. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., etc. They have some more NFL talent. That's every year now. It's Ohio State. If he does not play or he plays at like 70%, they're not winning. They're not going to win. You cannot lose your left tackle against Ohio State. That would be, if they won without him, it would be insane. You just can't lose those kind of guys. There's no replacing him. Secondarily, I mean, I get him trying to play, and I'm sure he wants to, obviously. But if he's playing at 70%, are you going to feel good about him in obvious passing situations? That means either you got to leave him one-on-one with him hindered, or B, you got to change your offense and leave backs and tight ends in, which is never good. Ohio State, I know they lost quite a few DBs, but they recruit and replace about as well, if not better than anybody. I originally had Texas winning this game, but until I see the game itself, first drive, Goosby out there healthy, now I'm going with Ohio State. Left tackle is the one spot that like nobody has a backup for. Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, nobody has quote unquote backup left tackles. They don't have those at the NFL level. Him being even slightly mitigated in this game is a problem for the Longhorns. And I think that sucks. There is nothing that I hate more. Nothing. I posted about this on X today. Than injuries, especially towards the end of fall camp. You go through the entire offseason training, spring ball, summer workouts, fall camp, and then you get to the end, and then you get the bone bruise. Why couldn't he have got this in like a July workout when he, slipping and fall? He'd have been fine. No, it's got to happen like August 20th or something like that. Whatever, it was somewhere around there. Ridiculous. It's one of the best players in college football, and it not only cheats Texas, because it's very unlikely he's going to be close to 100%, then it cheats the fans. Hell, it cheats Ohio State. They want to play against the best players too. This sucks. So right now, I'm going to lean Ohio State. I originally had Texas winning this game like 24-21. Just flip it. Ohio State, they'll get a few more pressures, a few more tackles for loss, etc. And let's be honest. When Texas has lost the last few years, it's because they've been out-physicaled. If Goosby, who, again, is just very, very skilled, is limited, you're not as likely to be able to run the football. Not like they don't have talent there. Raleek Brown is your backup. Hollywood Smothers is your expected start. That's an insane 1-2 punch. But they got to have somewhere to run. I'm curious to see if they shake the line up at all at Texas, or if they just let Trevor go out there and give it a go. I have no idea, and I'm guessing that he doesn't know. But none of it makes me feel warm and fuzzy going against Ohio State defense that, A, ate their lunch last year, and B, Goosby at least played last year. This situation is awful. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the game itself before we go to break, and then I'll talk about Clemson LSU afterwards. This is Arch Manning's opportunity to get some redemption. He wasn't the same player at the beginning of last year that he was at the end, obviously. His last 4 or 5 games were about as good as anybody's in the country. But now he goes back, at least in theory, to the place where it all started, and that's Ohio State, obviously different stadium and state. But they run the most complicated defense probably in college football, but they don't have the same guys. Free safety, NFL. Both inside linebackers, NFL. Nose guard, NFL. Like straight up the middle, where all the really gritty, experienced players that they had that gave them fits, they're gone. Again, defensive end, et cetera. Kenyatta Jackson's a guy you probably got to worry about the most. Some of the guys in the secondary, they're new, but they're talented. How complex will Ohio State be? I don't know for sure. Matt Patricia is a really good coach, but he may have to dumb it down a little bit because he doesn't have the full gamut of playmaker. Again, like nose guard, inside linebacker to free safety. That last year, it wasn't close. They had the best group in the country. But now, what will Ohio State do? Because there's really nothing Arch hasn't seen at this point. Are they just going to play more shell defense, try to keep everything in front? Because good Lord, does Texas have the speed at receiver? But again, if Goosby shows any signs of wear early in the game, they may shift their approach. They'll probably have a couple of different looks at it because they're talking about the same stuff I am right now in their meetings. I guarantee it. Hey, if this guy, if he shows anything, we're going to put pressures out there. We're going to put a 7 technique or a 9 technique, just make a wide 9, make him bend, make him really try to plant off that knee and go. I would. Why would you not? So I think they'll test him a little bit early, and he may test himself a little bit. They may run a screen first or second play to Smothers or something like that just to see what he can do in space. Who knows? Keep an eye on that. On the other side of the ball is maybe as good a matchup as we'll get this year in college football. I'm guessing the Horns are going to go with every different way they can to turn loose Colin Simmons. And I certainly hope so. This is what you sign up for when you watch college football. I don't care if he's on the right side, the left side, they put him at backer from depth. They're probably going to move him around, but he's going to be going forward. He ain't going to be dropping into coverage. Some teams are so ignorant, they drop all their good pass rushers into coverage. It's dumb. Colin Simmons had 59 pressures last year by himself. Ohio State's got a good line. I'm guessing they have a couple of different lineups they can go with because they've got enough depth and whatnot. They got 4 guys back. I don't care which side he's on. I'm just going to watch Colin Simmons with whoever tries to block him, and I'm curious. Will Ohio State chip, especially if Silverfeld is on him in any point one-on-one? That's about as good a matchup as we're going to see this year. I'm here for it. All fans should be here for it. That is awesome. It is why we enjoy the sport. Big men don't often go against players of their own level, the elite players, early in the season. There won't be a better one. And I'm curious, are they going to use him on stunts? Are they going to even play him at linebacker, like true linebacker? Not outside, inside backer to try to confuse them, blitz him, stun him from it. I could see them doing anything. If he gets turned loose, it changes the game because the one time that Julian Sayin really struggles, and it was in both of his last games, Indiana, and then against Miami, he was terrible when he had people at his feet. Not bad, terrible. Nobody likes having pressure, but he didn't even look remotely average. He very much struggled. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Ohio State annihilated the vast majority of the teams they played at the line of scrimmage. By the way, Bo Jackson was a tremendous freshman last year for them. They didn't have to worry about it because he had plenty of time. And when he could read a defense and set his feet, yeah, he's probably the most accurate guy. But against Texas, there's going to be pressure. Does this end up being a scenario where he has to make some throws, again, on the road? I'm curious to see that. And I'm very much a guy that wants to know if he can. Because if he can do that, I know he's not the biggest guy. He doesn't have necessarily the biggest arm. He is always on time. He is, this is probably not fair, the closest thing to Drew Brees we're going to have in college. And his arm's going to continue to get stronger and whatnot. I'm not saying he's going to have Drew Brees' NFL career, by the way. But Sayin is insanely accurate. He was over 75% last year. I get it that he's throwing to Ohio State guys, but he puts it on the money, intermediate, deep, back shoulder fade, whatever. But let's see him do that with Texas defenders in his face. They got a ton of size, and Lord only knows where Colin Simmons is going to line up. My only question really for the Texas secondary, how are they going to match up with Jeremiah? Are they just going to mix it up play to play? They certainly have the talent to do that. Will Muschamp is now the defense coordinator. He's one of the best in the college game, probably in the pro game too. He's very, very good. Will they be able to confuse Julian Sayin? He's one of the more intelligent quarterbacks we have at the collegiate level. That's a great chess piece right there, going against another great chess piece. I'm here for that too, and everybody should. I don't care if you like Ohio State, like Texas, or hate them both, whatever. That will be fun. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Clemson at LSU. That game has a few questions that go beyond just injuries and the players on the field. That is next right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There are more live events than ever. we're seeing right now: games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. And the hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets, long wait times. Sometimes you got confusing checkout processes, surprising fees, and sometimes it's just harder than it should be. That's why so many fans are turning to the Game Time app, because this app is built to make it a lot easier for you with upfront pricing, seat views right there on your phone, and exclusive savings that help you get the events that you want without the hassle. For me, it's pretty simple. I've used it twice. Went to basketball games. Both times I picked the team that I wanted, just typed it into the app, found the game, clicked on the seat at that arena, went through a few different options. Less than 8 minutes, I was out the door both times. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to any kind of event you want with Game Time: basketball, football, concert, whatever it may be. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Clemson at LSU. This is going to be one of the more fun and entertaining games away from the field that we have all year. Think about the following before I go into the depth chart, talk about the quarterbacks and all that. Both coaches are under scrutiny. One right now is the one in Baton Rouge for all the stuff that I'll talk about here in about 5-10 minutes with the NFL to college stuff. It's so ridiculous. We'll talk about that in the chat discussion. But Kiffin's got a really good roster. He can obviously call plays, whether you like him, hate him, or anywhere in between. The dude can call plays. And they got a lot of talent. They're the favorite. They're at home. Hell, they beat Clemson on the road last year. I'd imagine that there's a pretty good chance that LSU can come out and stomp them. But that's where it gets interesting. When you count somebody out, this is especially true in college football. Good Lord. When you think, oh, there's no chance. But it's a first game. Two things I want to mention. Number one, special teams. Say this all the time on not only this podcast, Locked on Seminoles, the other show I do, or any show that I go on to for week one matchups. The number one way you can screw up a game is special teams. I don't know who the kickers are for your team. I have no idea who the holders are, the snappers, the punters, none of it. I just know that more teams that are supposed to win will lose with special teams than anything else. Pay particular attention to that. And number two, Clemson has nothing to lose. This is wild to say. They're not in the top 25. Dabo is quasi on the hot seat, at least from the national media perspective. I don't know about the local media at Clemson. I've only spoken to the Locked on Clemson hopes, and he likes Dabo. He's a grad, got 2 degrees and all that, but he knows that if something doesn't change, Dabo is going to be on the hot seat after this year, in his opinion. So they're playing with house money. How will Clemson come into this game emotionally? And that leads to the obvious question. Christopher Vizzina is my expectation as the quarterback. Tate Reynolds is the freshman, and he's a stud. He's got a lot of talent. I've seen him live. I don't think he was ranked quite where he should have been after seeing him at Rivals 5-star last year in Indianapolis at the Colts facility. That kid's, but he looks like a linebacker. He's humongous. His legs are huge. But freshman, first game on the road in the quote-unquote other Death Valley, meaning LSU, I doubt Dabo is going to go that route. He's very loyal. How does Christopher Vizzina, who's a redshirt junior, he's played a little bit, handle that environment? We have no idea. LSU's got the same coordinator. They still have DJ Pickett and some other really good defensive players, but it's still a lot of newness. They got like 50, 60 players that are new from this past season. And on top of it, multiple inside defensive linemen haven't really lived up to the billing. Been banged up or whatever. We're probably never going to get the full story. Multiple true freshmen have a chance to start. Not one, multiple at D tackle. Now, LSU's D tackle class coming in is maybe the best 3-man group I've ever seen. Lamar Brown's been beat up a little bit. He's from Baton Rouge. Big Mr. Anderson, he's a kid from New Orleans. He's as good a D tackle as there is in the country. Love him. He's expected to start. And Deuce Gerald, who's originally from Baton Rouge, but played his high school ball near Atlanta, same high school as one Travis Hunter, by the way, Collins Hill, is expected to be the other, at least by some reports. if 2 out of your top 3 or 4 D tackles, even if they don't start, are true freshmen, that worries me because getting caught, traps, reverses, doing different things. Clemson might come out with something. They have nothing to lose. I'm a little worried about that from an LSU perspective. To that end, I don't think Clemson's going to throw the ball well, even though they got some hellacious receivers. They got some really good. Brian Wesco, I think, being back will obviously matter. TJ Moore, NFL player. He's a kid I knew that he would in Tampa, went to Catholic, which I used to live about 2 miles from Tampa Catholic, used to go to practices all the time. I'm like, that kid's an NFL player. He has been, and I think this will be his last year of college. But they're not going to let those guys beat him. If they can get pressure with 4, it's going to be a long, long day for Clemson. And to that end, I haven't heard a ton of injury news with LSU. But again, we'll see. I know there's been a few things that have been reported, but basic. But with Clemson, TJ Moore is expected back. But how much can you trust a head coach prior to a big game? Again, they lie. And the other one is Vic Burley. He's the D tackle. This is a redshirt junior that's very, very talented. He's from Warner Robins High School in Georgia. I saw him play in high school. He's a man-child. But he hasn't quite lived up to the billing, to say the least. And now he's suspended. If he doesn't play, that's a big problem. He's as valuable interior defensive lineman as they have. He's been on the program for 3 years. This is his 4th year. Clemson's not in a position to lose that guy. But Dabo is old school. If he did something, and I don't even know what it is that Vic is suspended for indefinitely, I have no idea. That's not good news. They lost not 1, but 2 NFL defensive linemen this past year. They had 9 guys drafted and still only won 7 games. That combination doesn't make any sense. So the burden of proof is on LSU to win because they've got more talent there at home. But again, Clemson's a bit of a wounded animal. I've seen this too many times. LSU cannot allow them to have life. Again, special teams in particular, punt block, or LSU punts and the ball just goes over the punter's head. They get a safety. You have to punt. You get a short field. If you're Clemson, those kinds of things, that's how you lose. If LSU survives the first quarter, let's say 20 minutes of the game, so a third of it, you're 10 minutes to go in the second quarter, and the game is either tied or LSU's ahead, that game could get ugly. Because after that emotion from Clemson and they throw the kitchen sink at them, which they will, they know they have to play an emotion game. If they can't get up early, maybe they try to throw deep to Wesco, whatever it is. If that doesn't work, especially if they're down at that point, like LSU has the ball driving, it could get ugly. After all that, my prediction is still LSU 28-10. I've got, as a reminder, I'm picking Ohio State 24-21 in the other game. I think it'll be close for the most part, but eventually I think Clemson, which is not as deep as it used to be on defense, will collapse. I don't think it'll be the defense's fault per se. I think Vizzina is going to be very mediocre. And I think that's going to lead to LSU having too many short fields. When you do that with Sam Levitt at quarterback, with a bevy of good running backs and a ridiculous group of receivers, the Harris kid that transferred in, Winnie Watkins, they got so many. Trying to pick 1 or 2 is ridiculous. Eventually, the dam is going to break. That is my take, and I really don't think there's any doubt about that. Let's see here. 1 sec. We come back. I'm just going to do a quick ad break here. I want to jump into the chat and discuss the Big Ten and SEC doing the right thing. I'm sure I'm going to have some LSU fans mad about this, but I'm glad LSU and anybody else didn't end up getting on the right side of this. That is next right here on the Portal Podcast. For those of you that did not see, both the Big Ten and the SEC have put out statements. They're almost the same now. They voted on it, etc. The NFL to college model, which is ridiculous to even say out loud as a joke, let alone as one that's serious, is being squashed. And here's how they did it without getting into legal trouble. This is smart. This is no different than the spring transfer window. They did the same thing. Same thing. Not punishing players because you get sued. Since you're an employee as a coach, they're going after them. Hey, the kid can play. That's fine. Go ahead. He can transfer, whatever. Got the injunction. But the coach is going to be suspended for 6 games. Good luck. And then you have to give up half of your budget for operating cost for football that year. I mean, you're done. Nobody's going to do that. So LSU's not going to get Daquan Wright or anybody else. I don't know how many they would have ended up with that were in that boat. Now, this is, I don't know the full totality of it. Just to be clear, some of the guys that come back, there's still a little bit of an iffiness to it. Some of them would have liked to have gone to the NFL, but they didn't get invited at the combine. They maybe have been injured, whatever. Like, I'm just going to use an example, and I don't know the full totality here. Junior Tuli Alamaka was going to be a graduate student at Notre Dame, but they couldn't figure it out. He didn't go to a draft camp. He was banged up at the end of last year for Notre Dame. I don't think he went to anything NFL-wise. I could be wrong. But now he's going to go to LSU. He might still be eligible because he wasn't with an NFL team. Daquan Wright, the former Ole Miss tight end, the big flex tight end, he's like 6'4", 255. He was second-team All-SEC last year. I'm pretty sure that he would end up at LSU if he cleared waivers. But anyway, well, that's another story. Assuming he did. All that is moot. Again, if LSU played any of those guys, one play, Kiffin would be suspended 6 games. And again, half of your operating budget. I haven't even went to the LSU board yet, but I'm going to do that after this podcast for the entertainment value. I'm sure they're going to be screaming. LSU fans are as linear as it gets on, what happens to their Tigers. But this is good for the sport. And I get that this was just going to be a one-year thing, but we don't need to set any precedents that are bad either. College football has done enough dumb stuff. Let's not add to it. Okay. So good for the Big Ten, good for the SEC. And, it's unfortunate, but if you had a chance to play at Ole Miss and other places, make a bunch of money, I don't feel bad for the players either. Now let's jump into the chat and have a little bit of fun. If you have any comments about the games that I mentioned, if you have any comments about what I just talked about with the LSU NFL stuff, whatever it may be, have fun. Salty, what's going on, brother? If Trevor Goosby is not at full strength, Texas would be best served by relying on senior offensive lineman Andre Kojo, who had a very good fall camp. They could also slide Melvin Siani to the left side. The other tackle that he's talking about transferred in from Wake Forest. He's a pretty veteran guy. I don't know if he can play left or not. I would assume he can at this level, but it's better than nothing. Dabo Swinney's trust Clemson's quarterback situation, and that's about it. Vizzina has minimal starting experience, not good, and is being pushed by freshman Tate Reynolds. Swinney should have portaled 100%. He's stubborn as a mule, man. The result of the offseason priority is to instill a bully mentality and improve the line's physicality. Brandon Baker moving to guard and physical transfers like Seymour and Siani will be key. I agree with that as far as the Texas Longhorns front. Salty, well said. Ohio State's key front 7 defenders will be Kenyatta Jackson Jr., the young man I talked about. Middle linebacker Peyton Pierce, supported by Edric Houston, and a mix of young talent and transfers like Chris Allegro. He came over from Wisconsin. He's a good player. The chat questions show up on my iPhone's YouTube portal podcast site, but not on the same site from my desktop. My admittedly brilliant answers show up on both, though. Yeah, I'm not going to try to figure out the technology, brother. With Laurinaitis, left Notre Dame's linebacker and coaching duo to same at Ohio State. He took Peyton Pierce with him. Notre Dame gave him his first shot at coaching, and he's very good friends with Freeman. Yeah, Laurinaitis probably didn't do himself any favors there. LSU's biggest challenges are the thin offensive line depth behind an unproven second-tier unit, integrating a large number of transfers, and high-stakes administrative fallout from the pro player issues. I do not. It's still defensive tackle. You can't have freshmen starting there. Even my guy, Matt Moscona, who runs Locked On LSU, the most popular site on the Locked On network, he's been talking about that for a while. At some point, that's probably going to bite you. Maybe against Clemson. Probably more likely later in the season, though. Salty, LSU is using court injunctions to onboard players with NFL experience. Going against the SEC leadership, the SEC has strict rules. Again, yeah, it's stupid. It didn't work, though. They got caught there. There should be more linemen in the top 10 and top 20 of most lists, but the skilled players always attract more attention as a group than is warranted. I'd like to see lists exclusively for linemen. I try to do my best, Salty. I honestly do, man. I really do. Which ESPN Friday night high school football game are you looking forward to the most? St. Joseph, New Jersey, Mount Carmel, Illinois, or DeSoto against St. Thomas Aquinas? Well, I mean, probably St. Joseph and Mount Carmel because I know less about them, but the better game itself is DeSoto and St. Thomas. Sometimes I just like to see different players that I don't know as much about. Notre Dame has a very good backup left tackle, Anthony Knapp playing guard, Will Black at left tackle. I still don't think Knapp is a pure left tackle. He's solid, but that's not his thing. DJ, I agree. Ohio State 24-21, but I didn't flip it. Oh, DJ, you went with that originally. Tommy, what's going on, brother? Hope all is well with you, sir. Out on the road. Just pulled up for the night. All right. Tommy's picking Texas. Tommy, are you familiar with the injury situation to Trevor Goosby? Because that is a tough one, brother. Kiffin. Hurricane Hicks. Ohio State will win, assuming the O-line has improved, but they are replacing a lot of the defensive side. 100%. I trust them to come up with something, but it's second game of the year. It's hard. I have heard that Christopher Vizzina has a very strong support from the locker room and that Cade Klubnik did not, at least to that level. That surprises me, but may explain Klubnik never hitting top gear. That is interesting. I'd never heard that. Thank you for that information. I like both of your predictions, Brian. I think Clemson gets to 14 or 17, though. They might. I have very, very limited confidence in Vizzina. I'm not buying it. Hurricane Hicks. Clemson couldn't win with a bunch of drafted players. I can't imagine they'd replace them with the same talent. There's no way around it. How do you lose 9 NFL guys and you won 7 games? That is insane. DJ. I guess my autocorrect. Yeah, well, that's all good, brother. Jay White. Will LSU versus Clemson be as lopsided as the point spread says? What is the point spread on that game? I haven't even looked. I'm picking LSU by 18. I assume they're favored by about 10, something like that, maybe 12. I don't think that Clemson will hang much past 5 minutes into the second half, and I think they'll be down 21-10. LSU will tack on one late. That'll be it. I think Clemson's defense will play pretty well. They're still good. But if they have any turnovers or any special team snafus, that could be 38-10. I just don't have any belief in Christopher Vizzina. Sue me. He's got to show me something. I know that Kiffin can call plays. I know what Death Valley's like at night. And Sam Levitt, I think he's pretty healthy. We'll know. I'm guessing he is. We haven't heard anything. And with Harris and Woody Watkins and all those guys, Trey'Dez Green, just the screen passes and everything, they're going to hit a few plays that are generic just because of the skill they have. My only other question about LSU is the offensive line's continuity, which, early season games, it's probably not great. That's why I'm more concerned about Vizzina and special teams. But overall, I just don't think Clemson is going to be able to handle that. That's a tough first game, but give Clemson credit for scheduling it. That's part of the gig. So I'm glad we discussed these. These are fun games, man. Again, the week 0 slate's pretty weak, to put it mildly. I'll talk a little bit probably about North Carolina State playing at Virginia. It's not as big a deal to me, but I'll talk a little bit about that maybe tomorrow. But there's just not as much. The stuff from today, I'll probably expand, honestly. I need to get on the phone with some sources tomorrow, hopefully, in regards to what's going on with the Big Ten in the Southeastern Conference, both of them making smart decisions, in my opinion, to eliminate any stupidity. It shouldn't be NFL to college. It should be the college players going to the NFL. Let's not turn this around. So that's something that I'll definitely get into tomorrow. Hurricane Hicks, I think the D tackle for Ohio State will be key. Smith and Walker are questionable to me. Do you agree? I know Walker personally. If he's healthy, and I think he is, he's an animal. Smith, I don't trust a ton. He had 1 sack last year for Bama. He's a kid that was top 25, top 50 player by everybody coming out of high school. Just hasn't lived up to it. We'll see what happens, but maybe Ohio State will get something out of it. That's why the transfer portal is so wild. Sometimes a new place, new scenery will help. And let's be honest, it's not like Alabama was practicing a lot of physicality at practice. Did you watch the run game last year? Probably didn't help Smith. So I imagine he'll be better with the Buckeyes than he was with Bama. So we'll see. Thank you to everybody that checked out the Portal Podcast again tonight. I had some fun with this. It's one of the more entertaining subjects to actually talk about games. Well, if you thought about the Tommy, if you thought about the injuries, not until I heard about talking about the guys you injured tonight, it changes things, man. I keep a close eye on that because if you miss into training camp, that gets really, really tough. How is your conditioning going to be, et cetera? Like Goosby, man, that worries me. But once again, thank you very much for checking out the Portal Podcast. Everybody had some fun tonight. We're to the end of fall camp, amen to that. And now it's game week. Let's enjoy college football this weekend. I think FCS on Thursday night, if I remember right, which is also very cool. I'm down with that. Let those guys get their love. And then Saturday, I know it's not a great slate of games, but it's still college football. We'll probably, you know what, I'm going to preview a little bit of Florida State and New Mexico State and just some of the other games just from a team perspective. How do the players play? Some of the guys need to look at. I'm going to talk hot seat too. Mike Norvell, Danny Cannell gave his opinion on that for Florida State. It was interesting. I talked about that on Locked On Seminoles. So there's a lot going on. But thank you folks very much for checking out Locked on the Portal. We're going to have some fun again tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern. We will see you again then.